Okay, I'm back. This is Tyler Edlin with 3dbuzz.com, and this is video 11, the final concept part 2. And in this video, I'll start adding the secondary details and working my way down the legs in the design. Alright, still trying to work this thing out. I don't know about, I made the color swash up there, but I don't know if I'm going to feel the yellowish hair doodads. Pardon me if there's a proper name for those things. I just can't think of what they are called formally right now. And I'll play with their design to start this video off for the hell of it. Yeah, see, I don't like the gold. I'm already getting rid of that. It was just a little bit too much. Now it's time to finally start exploring some of that texture I scribbled on. I made so many scribbles about early on in the tutorial regarding the shape and the density of how the scarf will work. I think I'm getting it. It is tough though. I just wanted it to feel like it had like these bumpy grooves on it for a texture. And so that's how I'm thinking about that's how my mind works anyway when I'm rendering out a character like this. I first paint the form, secondly I start to indicate the texture, and then I do the third layer, which is this, and I do the final pass with the details on it. So basically 3 different waves. I wouldn't, like if I was just looking at that as is, I wouldn't have known. Like I couldn't paint it directly as it is now. I had to arrive there. And so yeah, I'm gonna start exploring some of the designs on the arms as well now. And I don't want to busy it too much, but over detailing can always be an issue. There needs to be areas of rest within a character's design, is what I'm trying to say. I was gonna, in regards to the outfit, I was going with that originally with that super kind of alien or sci-fi looking, just like that really hard black and white with just pure designs on it that was super asymmetrical and stuff. But then I was looking at that and I was trying to imagine this character in more of a setting, and I was like, especially in regards to other characters, and I was just like, this kind of, just based off her look, it seems like she'd be hard to relate to or hard to sympathize with, just because she's just so strange looking. So I don't know, I had to kind of tone that down a bit. Alright, so now going back to add a secondary color, going to reflect some of this kind of orange in the design. And yeah, it looks like I kind of went with kind of like a tannish looking ochre. I don't know, it's not like a sienna, but it's a little more neutral than that. But try to use the same colors, throughout the character. Maybe have one part of it, like that scarf, that's sticks out a bit. Maybe as a defining element. And it does help when you have a character with this one overall really kind of dominating color. But I don't know, I didn't arrive that way with this design, even though it just kind of goes against what I said. Maybe in the second revision of this character, 6 months down the line or whatever it is, and I want to redesign the character, maybe it'll work out better then. But for now, let's just go with this. Now I'm trying to add a little bit of texture to this, to the black parts of her outfit. I guess I was kind of inspired by that material that Darth Vader's suit is made out of. You know, it has its grooves and ridges, and you know that's part of just adding to like the foreignness of the actual armor too. It's like, you know, what era is this from, or what country was it based out of? It just adds a little bit of mystery to her, I think. But that arm is still looking just a tad bit flat right there. I'll have to go back and fix that. If I haven't already, don't worry, I'll kind of show the anatomy pictures I'm referencing for the lighting on this. I'll just put them up on screen, so you can kind of see what I'm going for. You see what I mean with the brown on the left and the black here, and it's all just a little bit too much. It's just getting a little too weird and even random. I gotta tie the design together, and I think that's what I struggle a lot with later in this video or in the next part. I try to bring some reason to it, some order to the chaos. I pretty much already know I'm just going to do the same ridges I did on that black piece of the arm on the leg. So right now I'm not that concerned with those, and why I kind of left those wholly neglected at this point, because I'm really just kind of struggling with how I want to make this, you know, the main body part of her design working. Well, I would say it definitely doesn't look flat at this point in terms of the forearm. It's just, I might even be overdoing it too much. And I think I leave her arm that is out there pretty much till last. I'm not going to worry about that. At least not till yet. I mean, I have the design of the sleeve going already. I figured out on the left side there, her right, so I can just duplicate that onto that arm. Well, not exactly duplicate, I'll have to draw it all, but the design is basically worked out. And it'll tie everything together once I add that on that arm. But yeah, feel free to even color sample my PSD or JPEG. I mean, whatever you want to, if you want to look at this image, you know, take it in Photoshop and you can color sample the white parts and see that I'm really trying to avoid using pure white on that. Here we go. Finally fixing up some of the form on that glove. It was just looking a little too flat for me. See, now it looks a little bit more weathered and rounded that goes around it. And see, I kind of did those designs on the arm. It's like kind of cool, but I ultimately find that it's just not going to work. So I delete some of that detail. There's definitely a little something going on with her neck that I need to to fix. But I'll worry about that later. Still kind of trying to work out the grooves of this. I mean, I kind of like the concept of this, you know, having these interlaced fabric type thing going here, but I don't know, it might get a little too busy for the final design. I'll have to see how I kind of tie the rest of it in. And yeah, like I mentioned maybe earlier, when I'm working out the designs like this over kind of what I already established, I'll just make a new layer for this. You'll probably notice too in the layers palette, this is just, I mean, it says like layer 75 because that might be the total amount of layers I've went through so far, but working layers, there's probably like 5 or 6 max. You know, there's like 2 for the background, 1 for the scarf behind her, and then her, and then the details. So, and then I just kind of have the sketches hidden above. Ugh. You know, it's kind of painful watching myself even work out all these details like on this black part here when I know I'm just going to get rid of it, you know, at least in retrospective. But you guys can see how I was at least thinking at the time. Just turning things on and off to kind of see how I'm going with this. Probably just makes it easier to second guess myself. But I guess that's the environment we live in, you know, with digital art. It can be a curse and a blessing. You know, straight up, if you're doing something like this more traditionally, you have to commit to a design a lot earlier or have it more worked out, because it'll just get really sloppy just reworking something physically over and over again. I do think a good character design takes, you know, it's better designed if it's done over kind of like a while. It's if you just rush a character out, unless it's something you've kind of thought about and even concepted out in your head for years, then that might be fine. But if you're just kind of going at it like kind of like this within a relatively short time span, I don't think it's as good as it could be if you kind of just let it sit and designed it out, or you know, worked on it a little bit over time. I don't know. Just me thinking out loud. I'm trying to bring back at this stage a little bit of elements of, I don't know, I wanted, you know, I talked about meshing kind of like sci-fi and fantasy with this, and I'm realizing there's like 0 fantasy elements on this really, and I'm really trying to bring, I don't know, I'm trying to bring that back to this design. Now I'm gonna make a new layer and try to add the belts in. I don't know. For me, that's kind of harder than it looks. As you can see, I just kind of crossed it across the middle. A lot of cross there, but it's still like or I did it as off center, and I kind of like know that too, and I painted it, and it's just like I gotta fix that. Maybe I didn't notice it right away, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, see, I didn't notice it. I'm just kind of going with it. But where it crosses should definitely be more to the right. And that's an easy fix since this is on its own layer. It's something I could just do with a quick warp transformation. But yeah, I hope I do that because I definitely see it now. I'm gonna layer on, thinking back to all those cool Assassin's Creed character designs. Just want to layer, maybe like one more layer, kind of like an onion of material down there. I love how the Assassin's Creed assassins look. Sometimes they're a bit too busy for my personal taste. It's just like when they get hot running around like that, or could they run around easily in all those layers? There's just so many layers if you actually look at them. I get the figure, or this little statue of one of the characters right above my computer, so it's easy to make a relation to that. But yeah, it's cool character, cool games. See, the trick is to get that corner where the rib cage bends in, kind of crunches the body. So I was just considering. See, I'll leave the belt like that. Looks like I did anyway, just unfinished, just as kind of like a placeholder holder. Like, yeah, I want this character to have a belt. It's gonna be there. Of course, if you're one to have kind of like a minimalist mindset, a simple, and well, want to keep things really simple, I would say, on that note, this character doesn't need that belt at all. For me, I think that's more of, for this character, I'm thinking that's more of like a visual or aesthetic thing. It works on a functional basis. That's important, but it's not necessary, I'll say. Unless I make her hold some sword or rod or some kind of ultimate purpose. I guess the belt is. I do work that out. The belt is going to be holding that area that's brown, kind of that wraps around the white part. Just maybe have little doodads. And this is a detail I shouldn't be considering at this point, but I'm putting in there, and I think I get rid of anyway. Like, yeah, what will it look like if I have this? And another thing to note too, if you're just learning more or less in your earlier phases of that, just kind of jumped on the bandwagon to getting into digital painting. Not so much specifically character design, but it's good to just practice a lot of life drawing or master studies. Like copies and stuff of their paintings, and just educate yourself and immerse yourself fully in the world of painting, so to speak. And I say that because if you're just following like kind of like tutorial after tutorial, you'll pick up like a lot of the information you'll need to make image making, but it's just it a lot of these, like including mine, won't provide you with the knowledge or the dexterity to kind of paint these. So I mean, what I'm trying to say is that you learn a lot by doing. Not by seeing. And when you're watching a tutorial, regardless if you're following it closely or not, I mean that's doing to an extent, but it's mostly just seeing. You just got to get out there in the world and try things out. And I didn't know, for instance, a lot of the information that I've mentioned in this video. It's like I had to remind myself and look up a lot of it as I went. To keep myself refreshed of some of the fundamental principles regarding design and hierarchies and anything of that sort. I started out, if anyone probably knew me at all, uh, by any chance, it was probably from my environment or landscape concepts. I wouldn't say I'm a known character designer. It's something more or less that I kind of do as a closet case situation right now. I've been doing character designs for 2 years now, but just due to NDAs and stuff like that, I'm not able to post pretty much all of it. So someday, we'll see. I'll be able to put it out there online. But yeah, I would, if again, if you're just starting out, I would, in building a portfolio, find something more or less to emphasize your strength and work towards that first. That's what I did in college. Even when I was like 22 years old, um, my professors told me my characters were terrible. I just shouldn't even do them. They ruined all my paintings. So I'd spent the next 5 years just kind of working on environments and using the stick figures for the characters in there for scale. But it wasn't until a lot later. I was like 28 or so whatever it was. I started getting into practicing my character illustration a lot more. I was kind of already established doing environments, so it was kind of time to feel natural to more or less round out my skill set. Of course, if you have like 3D software and the knowledge of that, you could just take a shortcut and kind of pose a figure or sculpt one, whatever those do. I'm not really versed in that stuff. I'm just don't have the time to learn it right now, so I got to draw it all out. And with that, of course, you do get the flaws. For me, anyway, I'm not really a perfectionist. I don't consider myself one, but sometimes it's after all, it's the flaws that can make it. It'll give you your work the personality and style can be derived from flaws. That's something to keep in mind as well. But if something just looks wrong, you got to fix it. And I hope I'm zoomed in enough on this painting. I don't get terribly close with my things, especially just kind of like a character concept like this. That it would never be printed out like 4 feet or 5. It would never be like a mural or even made into a poster. Really, it just a concept that if it looks good on my computer screen, that's basically all I keep it to. Now I'm going to try to figure out how to work that texture on the leg. So what I did was draw lines to kind of etch where they're going to be, all the folds or seams. Now I went over those folds with kind of like an airbrush to kind of darken the crevice of it. Kind of see there, but then the light will be catching the top ridge of that. So that's what I'm kind of trying to indicate now. And if there's strong bounce light too, instead of having it completely dark in there, you could have usually a bounce light's warmer if it's coming from down below. So I would, well, depending on the ground surface anyway. In this case, it'd certainly be warmer, but you can indicate that in there as well, which I might go back and do. Finally getting to these legs. Looking in the navigator up top, that leg that's stepping forward is still a little over exaggerated. The ankle's a little bit off, so that'll have to be addressed in this pass or the next. Sometimes when I'm painting one area and I'm focused on it, but I'll still, glance over and notice I have something completely wrong with the image, and I just make a mental note to go back and fix it. It's very common that I do forget to go back and fix it. It just happens. So until someone points it out online or something, hey, look at that, and then you go back and do it. Just going back in, adding another pass of detail on this. Trying to get the highlights to look right anyway. I was never very good at making highlights on things. I just do know you put them on a bit later. You don't want to start off with highlights anyway. From my experience, I wouldn't do it. Just a little too distracting when it's done early on, I think. And see, so technically, this is the same situation as we had with the white. This was supposed to be more or less kind of like black pants, and I'm not really using black. You could tell from my color picker there, and the color wheel. I'm getting very close to it, but I never do, and there's always a little color imbued with it. Particularly, I'm that kind of looks like a bluish I have like on the back of the leg, for instance, but it's really just a desaturated, kind of like green or yellow from the background. Even you can kind of fool the eye regarding the temperature of a color if you're using, for instance, like a yellow, and you need to add a cooler area to it. You just make it a little bit less saturated, go probably a little lighter in value as well, and that will make it look like you used a cooler color even though you didn't. I mean, you could, if you're really expressive with your colors, you could throw down, a blue, but most of the time that's a little bit too strong, so I just use the more subtle approach. And trying to be careful getting in there. It's funny how uncomfortable I can feel when I'm just painting little tiny spaces like that. Just let me get a big brush and fill in a sky or a rock or something. But getting in the little nitty gritty like this, I don't know, gets on my nerves, and I feel a little bit of tension when I do this. Probably why a majority of my images look much better further away than up close. Definitely more of like an atmosphere and mood guy rather than a detail oriented renderer where some of those guys go in there, they'll render every skin pore, freckle, arm hair, but no, that's not really for me. If I can say the same thing about a character without going that far into detail, then I'm happy with that. And it's all about personal preference. I mean, right? I read a quote: "Simplicity is the key to brilliance." So, if less is more. I'm more along the lines in that sort of camp. But the most important thing to do is just enjoy what you do. I'm not painting that. For instance, I'm not really painting this image because I think it's what will be popular on the internet, or I'll get a lot of great feedback on. I'm painting this character, the way I am because it's something I enjoy doing, and it's derived from kind of like the '90s role playing games I played when I was kind of like a kid on the PlayStation and Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, stuff like that. And that's why I got into art. It wasn't so much for the comics or the movies, but I had a lot of great times when I was a kid with my friends playing the old games. Finally just spending more time on these pants. Trying to add that one highlight kind of coming down as if it was like a partial like leather type of fabric or, you know, texture. But not like one of those old. I'd have to add some wear and tear to it because right now it's still a little bit too polished. So I'm just really going to show you I believe I should show you the top of this leg. I'll probably jump up in a time lapse or something when I'm working on the remainder of it. I'll show you part of it, but it'll be a little more sped up than this. So I'm sorry if this end part here kind of dragged on. Hearing me ramble, but it is going to be, this part will be wrapping up soon. I'm trying to add like a little blue eclipse light around this highlight because you notice it kind of washes out like that. Highlights do, whether it's in nature or from something man-made, and depending on the color of the light. So in this case, I'm going cooler, so I'm trying to go for a cooler color that will be, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. A little bit cooler. I might have to change the layer blending mode to get the effect I'm looking for. And this type of detail just comes from observation. Always you go out everywhere and observe. I wasn't one of those guys that carried a sketchbook everywhere I went either. This is just something I kind of decided to do when I was like 19 and 20 because I didn't know what else to do in my life. So yeah, I got the highlights coming on and just working on the edges, and you'll see kind of how I do that. I make a new layer, add a little bit of the rim light, and then I'll more or less smudge it down, smooth it out. And that's kind of all, and then I'll lower the layer back down. I'll collapse it. So I'm losing my voice here. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the final part. Finish this up.